And we continue at 1:07 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wangs at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, all week long, I've been cutting up an LA County Board of Supervisors meeting about the new zero bail schedule that takes effect on Sunday. We're going to get into all that sound later next week, but I noticed something when I was listening to Hilda Solis. I'm pretty sure she listens to this show.
And the misinformation out there right now is horrific. It's bad enough that we have people, naysayers, that just want to, ridicule any progress that we're trying to make.
I wonder who she's talking about.
Quite frankly, yes. Wow, that's amazing.
Did you see that Ricardo Lara, the insurance commissioner, is now kicking tires on replacing her on the Board of Supervisors?
Well, this is the musical chairs that we have in the state of California.
Okay, but if you're the insurance commissioner and the insurance industry melted down on your watch, do you really deserve another office?
No, but he'll have so much money that he was given to by the insurance industry that he'll be able to spend as much money as he can to get that seat.
Well, as they say, you get the government you deserve.
Yes!
800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the author of the book Taxophornia, which is available online at Amazon.com. He's also a former Reagan administration general counsel and also the editor of the California Political Review. You can follow him on Twitter at James V. Lacy1. Jim Lacy, welcome.
I'm going to say two words. Good afternoon. Am I still on?
You, I promise, will last longer than I did this morning.
Boy, what a story, huh? Oh, gosh. CNN Plus.
I'll tell you this. If you would have told me that I would get two words in at CNN and then I'd get kicked off and the segment would be over, good morning would not be the two words I would assume I said.
Well, I would just demand that you get, your actors' equity pay or whatever it is that they work out with you, and I would ask for double for one for each word. Jeez.
All right. Well, let's get to the big issue of the day here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just going to say I really appreciated the way that you laid out the current life and times of Dianne Feinstein. I think that you painted a really good picture for listeners to understand where we are now, her legacy, and the fact that she was really not treated very well by people that she spent a lifetime working with to advance her view of public policy. I did want to mention just a couple things on that. One is that the Washington Post put out a story early this morning that referred to her as a centrist. She was not a centrist. She was a left-wing Democrat. She voted against all of Trump's appointments to the Supreme Court. She advanced that assault rifle ban that was subsequently overturned by the Congress was very bad on the Second Amendment. But it can't be emphasized enough what you said about her willingness to work with people and the fact that she treated other people basically decently and that she was all business. And I think that that's very, very important to her legacy. Although she was a leftist, an example of her being able to work with others was the way that she handled judicial appointments in California when George W. Bush was president. The president appoints individual U.S. district court judges and U.S. attorneys, not just members of the Supreme Court or the appellate court. I went to boarding school in San Jose for high school with a man named Larry O'Neill, who was appointed by George W. Bush in 2007 to be the U.S. District Court judge for the Fresno area. This is a great guy, perfect appointment, a former policeman. He was a member of the police force for the city of San Leandro. And you know what? Dianne Feinstein didn't let that stand in the way of her supporting him in a Democratic Senate. She understood that a president should be able to have some appointments. And so she was able to compromise there. And we were able to get a really good U.S. District Court judge right in California who voted to uphold the Second Amendment in several cases. So thank you for letting me do my little riff here, John. But, I can't imagine that if we were talking about Kamala Harris's service in the U.S. Senate, that she would ever agree to any Republican U.S. District Court judge anywhere, let alone in California. And that was a big difference between Dianne Feinstein and the progressive left.
As someone who has worked in politics, you have developed friendships and relationships with people who you are ideologically symbiotic with, and sometimes you've done the same thing with people who are on the opposite side of the aisle. You all work in the same industry. You all have to work together, and there's a certain collegiality that exists between most people who are professionals in this particular industry. With Dianne Feinstein, who did the same thing you did throughout her career, it seemed like at the end of her career, her political allies looked at her as being, quote unquote, in the way. And because she was, quote unquote, in the way, they were unbelievably disrespectful to her at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. And this comes from this progressive notion of politics that their policy is all important. I mean, it's almost like, I'm trying to reread my Hemingway, and I'm reading For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is about the Spanish Civil War. There were basically sort of communists that were involved in trying to support this Republican government who put the idea of promoting their political agenda above people's lives. And Elon Musk recently had an article in the New York. There's an article in the New Yorker about Isaacson's new book about Musk. And Musk says that the progressive movement has an element of inhumanity to it. Isn't that interesting? I think that it does. I think that these progressives that crossed over the line and probably helped to hasten the death of Feinstein by putting more stress on her have demonstrated just how inhuman they really are. There is a higher being. There are higher forces. There are better things about life than just politics. There's morality and humanity. And I think these people are heartless and they're wrong. And I think you raise a good point.
I have a friend, a very good friend, who's a medical doctor who needed a procedure done. And they told her, it'll be a month. And she had a one-on-one with the doctor, and she said, listen, I'm a medical doctor. You're a medical doctor. If we can't take care of each other, what's the point? Why are we here? Why are we doing what we're doing if we can't help one another out? And you would assume that there'd be a certain degree of that with people who work in politics, but none of that existed here at all.
No, you're absolutely right. And you can take it to all sorts of different extensions. I'm pretty sure that during the Korean War, if you were in a foxhole and you had drug-crazed red Chinese troops charging your foxhole, the first question to the guy sitting next to you in the foxhole isn't, are you a Republican or a Democrat? We're all in this together, and I think that we need to put things into perspective. We also need to look at character. It's not just about, in other words, I think the problem with the progressives is they would tolerate a person of poor character that advanced their policies, as opposed to focusing on more on character and dignity and fidelity to purpose, to good purpose, to higher things. I think it's did you see on Menendez that they had 18 or 19 or 20 different members of the Senate call on him to resign. And did you see that Menendez himself doesn't speak when he talks about the issue? He talks about the fact that he's completely innocent. That these are just withdrawals that he's taken out at a different time. I'm bringing him up because there's such a contrasting character between the two. But Schumer, would just as soon have that vote. I think a lot of the reason that the people are talking against him are that most of the people in the Democratic caucus that are talking against him are up for re-election in a year. And they're just thinking about politics. I don't know.
Well, it's also because
quite a contrast.
New Jersey is a state where party registration, voter registration, is going against the Democrats and in favor of the Republicans. And there was a statewide election they just had for governor where the Republican almost won, and no one was paying attention to that. It shocked everyone in New Jersey and a lot of people outside of New Jersey. And Bob Menendez is now damaged goods. There's a Democratic governor in New Jersey, so if they get rid of him now, they can replace him with someone without baggage, and they're much more likely to hold the seat than if they left Bob Menendez there.
Yeah. And the Senate is a mess. You alluded to it earlier, but you've got 47 Democrats now in the Democratic caucus, which includes Menendez, which includes Fetterman, and which includes someone who's considering running for president as an independent Manchin. So, you've got two kind of damaged goods members there, and then you've got that one person flouting with independent. And then you've got 49 Republicans. So you've got 47 Democrats, 49 Republicans, and you have 3 members of the Senate. And this is so weird. To me, they vote with the Democrats, right? But they don't want to be affiliated with the Democrats. So you've got Sanders and you've got King, who are formally caucus members with the Democrats. So that makes it 49-49. And then you've got Sinema from Arizona, who has some sort of an agreement with Schumer where she doesn't formally caucus with them, but that she votes with them for committee purposes. The Senate is really, really messed up, and I don't think it's elevated by the loss of Dianne Feinstein in the least.
Who do you think Newsom is going to appoint to replace her?
Well, what he could do is he could appoint Shirley Weber. That would be a terrific blow to the reparations movement in California, but maybe she could, use the position for the next year and a half, to jawbone for a national reparations bill. But, that would be someone who he could probably get to be a caretaker. I don't think she's up to the task. I don't think that she would be a very good senator, but I say that kind of lightly. But I think he's got a difficult position. I think you're absolutely right. I think that maybe the deal will be to ask Barbara Lee to do it, but with an understanding that she doesn't run for re-election. I think one thing you need to consider there is that Lee is much older than either Porter or Schiff. So she would probably, if she was running for election, only have one term as it was. And it might kind of a situation a little bit like Connie Conway. I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but Connie Conway was a state legislator who was elected to basically a one-year term to Congress last year when there was an open seat, and it was basically her opportunity for a last hurrah, and she did a good job at it.
What do you think of the idea of appointing a celebrity caretaker who would agree to be there for a year and a quarter, like an Oprah Winfrey or a Michelle Obama?
Well, I'd rather have it be a comedian. So we could talk about who the comedians would, who the potential comedians would be that could do it. It's like, what it ended up being like that guy that you helped take down in Wisconsin, Al Franken.
I had nothing to do with that.
no, you had nothing to do with it, but you knew some of the people who were involved with it. And, maybe, somebody along those lines. But, it could be somebody from the Getty family for all we know, because of his ties. But, no, I think he probably will keep. If I had to bet, I would bet it would probably be some sort of a deal with Barbara Lee.
How much political damage would he do to himself if he nominated himself for the U.S. Senate?
I think people would get over it. He's become a media darling. I think he's viewed as the future. I wouldn't call him exactly charming for his performance that he did on Hannity, but at least he had the guts the other night to go on Hannity. I think he's really got to get his teeth filed down. They're really far too prominent and wolf-like looking on television. But, he had all the stock answers. I really disagreed with his answers. Hannity asked him, well, why is gasoline, more expensive in California than anywhere else? And, of course, he talked about the oil companies gouging. That's been an issue of attacking the oil companies that's worked in California politics since the oil spill in Santa Barbara in the late 1960s. And I think people are getting kind of tired of it, to be honest with you. But he has all the stock answers, and the media likes him. To be honest with you, I think he could get away with it. I think it would be a temporary setback. But as you say, if he ends up having to run for election and wins it, he'd be very well set up in the future for the presidency, and he wouldn't be having to leave office. So, it would be California's gain and our nation's loss.
Jim Lacy, author of Taxophornia, available online at Amazon.com. You can follow him on Twitter at JamesVLacy1. Jim Lacy, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you, John. You take care.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to listen to a podcast of this show over the weekend, that's easy to do.
That's right. You all just have to do is download the brand new and improved KABC app. Go to the Apple App Store or the Android Store and search for KABC AM or 790 KABC. It is now the cleanest, less cluttered way to listen live, way simpler than iHeart, or to download podcasts of this show. It works with Apple CarPlay and the Android Car app as well. It has never been easier. It is so easy to do. In fact, Barbara Ferrer, you know how to download the app, right?
I have no idea.
Well, she's incompetent, but you're not. You could download the app today.
The show is officially halfway over.
That's right. The weekend is almost here, and then I'm off to buy a whole bunch of wine at Gelson's.
All right. Well, in the meantime, let's open up the KABC Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, today's edition involves the MTA.
That's right. Remember how Karen Bass at the town hall says that the ambassadors are going to solve all your problems? The ambassadors did not stop a man from getting pepper sprayed by a woman trying to steal his bag. And this wasn't on the crappy old red line. This was on the brand new Expo line.
That pepper spray has to sting.
Well, and apparently when you fire pepper spray in a closed train car like that, it spreads to everybody. So someone hit the emergency door and they were trying to jump off the train.
Oh, God. Can you imagine if someone's getting robbed with pepper spray on the same train you're on? They get maced and suddenly you can't see for hours too?
It's insane. For more, let's go to KCAL. Is that an LA City Council meeting or a metro train?
Sounds like a frat party.
Attacked in the metro, a woman is caught on camera pepper spraying a passenger and trying to rob him. The suspect is seen.
Is it just me? Maybe this is gender equity. We're seeing a lot more female a-hole criminals lately.
Well, I guess they're finally getting rid of all of the sexism that came along with robbing people on trains.
The suspect is seen trying to rip the man's bag away from him aboard the Expo line. The victim spoke to KK.
Isn't that supposed to be the high-end one? Takes you from downtown to Santa Monica. The riffraff doesn't take that train.
They do now.
The victim spoke to KCAL News reporter Amanda Sarantino about the violent encounter.
A brazen attack on the Metro train caught on camera. The victim, Samuel Nix, an Inglewood father of 3 young boys. Nix, who does not speak English, explained to me that he passed a woman on the crowded train and accidentally bumped against her. He says that's what started a confrontation between the two. He remembers the woman verbally harassing him, so he says he turned his back to her, trying not to escalate the situation.
He's just trying to get along with his day.
That's a mistake.
This woman wanted to blast away.
He says that's when the woman became physical and eventually pepper sprayed him.
In the hospital.
Samuel was traveling at the time to go to the hospital to visit his sick 8-month-old baby boy. In his bag he was carrying on the train, his IDs for him to be able to get into the children's hospital.
He was just saying, like, she can't have this. No, my baby, no, my baby. So, yeah, he was willing to fight for whatever he had for his baby.
What an a-hole.
Okay, so first of all, this is a woman robbing a man on the train. Secondly, he's an immigrant who speaks no English, who's just trying to visit his baby in the hospital. And she's trying to take his identification cards in his bag so he can't visit the baby in the hospital.
You know what? If she was arrested, this would be a no-bail offense.
Andriana Chambers Robinson shot that video posted to Instagram. While Nix is being attacked, you can see passengers get up from their seats to get away as the pepper spray quickly spread.
The mace get really strong. Somebody ended up pulling the emergency door button, whatever it was, to open the doors. And everybody's just jumping off in front of a train that's coming.
Whoa!
Okay. If your options are get hit head-on by a moving train or get secondhand pepper spray, you're much better off getting secondhand pepper spray than being run over by a train.
This might be the best idea yet.
I had an excuse to use that.
And everybody's just jumping off in front of a train that's coming.
Nick says that he is very upset and angry towards that woman, but he would never want to hurt her back. In the meantime, Nick says he'll be back riding the Metro because that's how he gets around town. Amanda Starantino, KCAL News.
Some people never learn.
Pepper sprayed a guy for his bag.
What do you think's going to happen to him next? He got pepper sprayed this time. What are we looking at next time she robs him?
Well, hopefully not a stabbing, although there's nothing to prevent anyone from bringing a knife or any other kind of weapon on Metro. Think of all the crap you have to go through to get into an airport. But you want to get on one of these trains, and you can severely destroy public safety. You can bring whatever you want on those.
You know, I'd like to talk to this guy at greater length than they did on the news. I wonder if he left some country that has a civil war, or maybe the cartels are in charge and violence is something that's common. And he figured, all right, I'm leaving Guatemala or I'm leaving El Salvador, and I am going to the United States. I'm moving to Hollywood. I'm moving to California. Open up that Golden Gate because here I come. I'm going to be in the land of movie stars. Who knows? Maybe I'll run into one at the grocery store. I'm going to live where the weather is great and the ocean and the mountains offer wonderful world-class views. And then he ends up on the LA Metro and he gets pepper sprayed and has his bag stolen.
You may want to consider not using the Metro.
What do you think he's telling the people back home, wherever he came from?
Don't come. Don't take Metro.
Now, one of the reasons that they do not want police officers on the Metro is because women like this would get arrested by the cops. They would do something illegal, the cops would see it happen, and they'd throw the cuffs on her, they'd take her downtown, and she'd have a record. And they think that that is discriminatory against poor people because poor people are the ones who are not paying their fares on the metro. They're the ones that have to rob and steal because they don't have a lot of money or they need to feed their drug habit, whatever the case may be. From their point of view, the people who are the criminals are the real victims here. And they look at the people who are being robbed as people of means, and the people of means need to check their privilege.
That guy has no privilege.
No. People of means wouldn't go anywhere near those death trains.
It is the poor victimizing the poor. And what always gets lost in the conversation is the victims of these crimes.
That's right. And this guy said, even after he got maced and robbed on the MTA, that he was going to be right back on that train because he has no alternative. You're forcing this man to put himself in dangerous situations on a daily basis because the county doesn't want to clean up the crime and the drugs.
If I could find a way to reach out to this guy, I would get him an Uber gift card.
Get him an Uber gift card, get him a used car, get him a horse. Whatever.
You can get a pretty, runnable, crappy used car for not a whole lot of money.
I'd get some walking shoes before I got on that train. My goodness. You're probably safer just jumping on the back of the train and holding yourself to the back to the caboose than you are to ride the train as a rider sitting inside one of the compartments.
Metro, you're safer outside the train than inside the train.
You may want to consider not riding the Metro.
You may want to consider not using the Metro.
We get a lot of use out of that one.
I have a feeling we're going to get more. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Jen writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com in response to the guy that got pepper sprayed on the Metro. The guy that was interviewed said he didn't want to escalate. If he had knocked her out, this would have been over. No escalation needed. I'm sorry, but if a woman wants to act like that, then she deserves to get punched in the face. We here at 790 KBC do not advocate for violence.
I guess her advice on this involves 3 letters. TKO.
Is today the day that I get punched in the face?
All right, here's a question I have for you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Now that Senator Feinstein has passed away, Gavin Newsom is the one who gets to make the appointment to fill her seat. He is pledged to nominate a black female to be California's next U.S. Senator. Do you believe he will fulfill that promise, or do you think he'll do something else, like appoint himself or appoint someone else? I'm not entirely sure what he's going to do. What say you? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We'll see if we can work in a couple of calls before the top of the hour. We're taking your calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-KABC. There is now a vacancy for one of California's U.S. Senate seats. Gavin Newsom has said in the past that he will appoint a black woman to that seat. Do you believe he will keep his word? 800-222-KABC. Let's begin with Robin in Manhattan Beach. Robin, you're on KABC. Hello.
Yes, hello, John. Great to talk to you. Yes, I think Karen Bass would work because wasn't she promised it first before Kamala?
I don't think any specific individual has been promised the seat. And I don't know if she would want to leave being mayor of L.A., where you're in charge of a city, where you're running something, to be one 1/100th of 1/2 of 1/3 of the government.
Yeah, but it might be good to be out of that snake pit.
That's very true. I certainly wouldn't want it.
You're so optimistic.
On the board of...
All right, thanks for the call. Let's go to Dominique in Chatsworth. Dominique, you're on KABC. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. You know what? I think he should just cut straight to the chase and, nip all of his haters in the bud and just nominate a conservative, Democratic, trans black woman and just call it a day.
Do you have anyone in mind?
No, that's going to be the issue. But just cut all the haters. Just get it out the way.
Okay, just put out an ad on Craigslist. If you meet this criteria, you will be the next U.S. Senator.
America needs you.
All right, thanks for the call. Let's go to Ben in Alhambra. Ben, you're on KABC. Hello.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. I believe the governor should find somebody or choose somebody from a underserved indigenous population of Republicans in California. And I will start with Mike Garcia from Santa Clarita, Michelle Steele from Orange County, even Kevin McCarthy, who's been very helpful to Democrats over the years, would be a good selection. How about that? And if we are committed to it, we should start calling the governor's office immediately.
Well, that would certainly be a curveball. I'll tell you that much. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Chris in Woodland Hills. Chris, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I think he's going to likely choose Barbara Lee. He doesn't care about California anymore. He's got his eyes on Washington, D.C., and if he wants the black vote, he's going to keep his promise. Otherwise, I think it could cost him the White House one day.
So you think when Gavin Newsom makes the announcement, he'll be... sir, could you turn your radio off? I like the sound of my voice, but not that much.
And he hung up.
Okay. Well, if Gavin Newsom appoints Barbara Lee, Randy, he could stand up there on that stage when he makes the announcement and say, Barbara Lee speaks for me.
But it just didn't feel big enough.
If he does that, how angry do you think Adam Schiff and Katie Porter will be?
They would be livid. They would be furious because they have raised all of this money to spend in California. It would be worthless because an incumbent will win.
Here's my advice. If Gavin Newsom appoints Barbara Lee to this U.S. Senate seat, don't go anywhere near Katie Porter and a boiling hot pot of potatoes.
We got a last-second entry here. Jeff in Encino. Jeff, you're on the John Phillips Show. Hello.
Yeah, let me take you off the speaker. Hang on. I'm right there. What I think should happen, Newsom should announce that he is identifying as a black woman, and then she should appoint herself.
Newsom Dolezal.
There you go.
Well, how would Newsom Dolezal dress? Would Newsom Dolezal be in a dress or continue to wear suits?
I think she should be authentic. I think she should take tips from what's her name, Jenner, and follow her lead.
Okay. Well, what if she wants to wear a hoodie? You can wear those now.
Okay, whatever. It's just that's the way she can get. And by the way, once she is out of the Senate, she can identify as a white man again and run for president.
Okay. If Newsom identifies that way, could he still use the urinals?
I don't know that it's going to be much of an issue. I guess he could use the urinal. I don't know if I don't know what the law is there in Washington D.C. I know what the law here in California. Everything is non-gender, right? All single seat bathrooms are non-gender.
I appreciate it, sir. We've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.
Enough already.